And though it's via Zoom, we do think it's important to continue to, oh, wait a second, I have a slideshow I want to, I've got a slide deck I want to share. All right, I think it's this, so hopefully it will be. Yeah, it will be this. Okay. All right, I'm just going to share this so just to kind of get us all on the same page. So we do want to encourage everybody to continue to connect, share information. That's why we do the virtual networkings. But if you're able to put in the chat box your information, whether it's your email, your contact, your LinkedIn, anything you want to say about your organization, it's just really a way for us to continue to connect via Zoom. And then we're going to take this information along with the recording of the event, and we are recording the event as well too. And we're going to send that over to everybody who's registered for the event afterwards. It's just a way to continue to connect, and hopefully come July, we'll all be able to get together for coffee, or hopefully before that, and connect in person as well too. So before I start, I do want to thank our sponsors for this event, including the BSC Group and Enterprise Bank. We thank them for their support. We wouldn't want to do this without you guys. So thank you. You guys are great. I want to thank our speakers today. We've got a great lineup, and Steph, we probably should share this agenda so people can refer to it as the meeting goes on. But we really have a lot to talk about in a very short amount of time. So I'm going to stop speaking soon. But there's really just so much happening in Lexington and around Lexington that we wanted to give you the introductions to a number of different things that are happening, starting with what's happening in Lexington, and especially with the Hartwell rezoning initiatives. So thank you to Jim Malloy, the town manager, and to Sandia Iyer, the economic development director. And then Chuck Bayon from Hanscom Air Force is going to give us an update on what's going on at Hanscom, just a brief update on that. I saw Heather Hamilton, who's going to be giving us an update on micromobility. What is it? The best practices. I think it really does apply to this area. So I think it would be a great initiative to learn a little bit about as well too. And then I saw Nancy Howell, Kathleen Beauchard, and Tina Collins. We're going to be talking about the Middlesex Technology Institute and vocational school, especially with a focus on robotics. And then Erin has been through talking with us from the Lexington Chamber of Commerce, and really gave us a lot of great suggestions on restaurants. So Erin, if you think of any others during the event, please jot them down, or if anyone else thinks of other restaurants, we really want to be focusing and trying to help out our restaurants during this event as well too. So that's kind of a lot, but we'll go back to everybody afterwards. Before I hand it over, just to let you know, we do have a number of events that are happening with Secretary Keneally, Workforce Development, a real estate event on innovative housing. And then on February 10th, Congressman Moulton is going to come and lead a discussion on the future of defense. They have a task force report that we're going to provide a link to that really talks about what we need to do really as a country to make certain that we keep this sector strong. And we have a lot of defense industry companies in the area that we're going to be talking to us as well and coming to the roundtable. So if you see that Chuck is a little brief in his discussion, I think he's probably going to be saving it all for this roundtable. And I did see Bruce Rosenberg from the town of Westford, who's been very helpful with this as well too. So thank you, Bruce, for that. And if you have any information, please share it with either myself or Steph Britz. And I'm going to.
Steph, it looks like Jim's in the attendee list.
Okay.
I don't know if you can move him over to be a panelist.
Yeah, we got to get everybody over to the attendees. So thank you for that. So with that, I stopped sharing, and I'm going to hand it over to Jim Malloy, the town manager. And Jim, I'm looking around this. I feel like this is a bingo sheet or something, trying to find trying to find your square. Jim, I know you're here. I just let you in, but there you are. Hey, good to see you. How are you doing?
Good. Things are busy.
Good. Good. Well, thank you for joining us and giving us an update on just what's happening in Lexington, and I know Sandy is going to be joining the conversation as well too. But it's good to see you and hear how things are going over there.
Yep. Casey, are we going to share the PowerPoint? Does somebody have that, or?
Yeah, I can. I'm pulling that up now.
Okay.
Steph, I believe you have that as well
Or
too,
Steph,
right?
you have it even. Mine's not loading.
So
I'll share it. Hold on one second.
okay, thanks. So this is why we try to keep these meetings casual, because we know that there's going to be all these hiccups in them, and they usually work out better that way. All right. Thank you, Steph.
I have to hold on one second. I have to find it.
Whoa. There we go.
Great. So if you could maybe go down a slide or two on that one. There, we'll start there. So I thought I'd talk a little bit about some of the projects and then also some of the challenges that we are facing right now. So during the whole pandemic year that we've been working remotely, a year ago, like a lot of private businesses, the town became a remote municipal government. But during that time, we actually completed a number of pretty large capital projects. We completed Hastings Elementary School, which is our largest totally net zero building. It's heated and air conditioned by ground source heat pump, and then it's all electric and has solar that covers the electric costs. The Lexington Visitor Center is brand new. It's kind of a weird thing to open in the middle of pandemic when people aren't traveling, but we did open it this year. We're temporarily closed over the winter months, but we'll be reopening on April 1st. And we opened the brand new Lexington Fire Headquarters, which is a beautiful new building that was under construction for 2 years and is a state-of-the-art fire station with the training facility built into it. We have a couple of large upcoming projects. We have the Center Streetscape project, which late last night I was exchanging emails with our town engineer, and it should be going out to bid today or Monday. And so we're actually at the point of putting it out to bid. We anticipate a bid opening in mid to late February, and a bid award shortly thereafter for the work to start later this year, hopefully during the summer months. One of the things that has sort of tied this up a little bit is parking meters. As Casey Haggerty and Sandia are aware, we originally had opted to stay with the existing parking meters that we have in town. The select board a few weeks ago said, we don't want you to do that. That's 1950s technology. We want pay by phone and apps and parking kiosks. And so we're scrambling to modify the bid specifications right now to include parking kiosks and not the existing parking meters. And that's been something that over 3 weeks to make really something like that is a fairly big change, has been challenging. We have a new building at our cemetery that we're going to be building over the summer months. It should be done by the end of 2021. We have a high school project, which is subject to the MSBA, the state financing arm for schools. We really don't anticipate it being approved this year, but it could be approved this year. And then we'll be going through the process over the next 3 or 4 years of design and then construction for that project. And that's a challenging project because it's estimated cost in the neighborhood of $350 million. And we're trying to come up with the best mechanisms possible to set aside money into a capital stabilization fund that's a sustainable fund that would soften the blow of what the debt service for that building will be. And so we have a financial working group that has developed some guidelines that we're hoping to implement this year that'll begin putting aside funding from some of the new commercial buildings that we have and taking those new tax dollars, the net new tax dollars from those, and putting them permanently aside to offset the debt service for that particular project. And then we have a police station project that has been planned for a number of years. It was supposed to already be under construction so that we went from fire station right to police station project, but we haven't completed design. With some of the national issues facing policing, the select board opted to take a step back, have a series of community conversations, and ensure that the community was comfortable with what we were doing going forward with the police station project before we actually went forward with it. So that has, developed into a much more detailed discussion. We've hired a company called All Aces that is doing a diversity and equity assessment of the community, and we'll also be providing massive amounts of training for town staff and town officials as we go forward. And we also have a chief equity officer position that we've included in the fiscal year 22 budget that will be going to town meeting this year. And we're doing a top to bottom review using the former U.S. Attorney for Massachusetts, Carmen Ortiz, in which she's reviewing all of our police procedures and policies to ensure that there isn't any bias included in them. And part of their review has included a very large scale interview of all of the community groups, all the different ethnic and racial community groups, as well as employees within the police department, school staff, management of the school department, to make sure that what we're doing and how we operate our police department is really state of the art. If you could move to the next screen. Or next bit, there we go. Whoop, one back. One more, going the wrong way. It would probably be slide 4, I would think. One more, there we go. And so other initiatives that we've undertaken, some of these I've talked about. The town also created a sustainability director's position, and we've hired and onboarded the town's first sustainability director during the pandemic. And part of her role will be not only working with residents, but also working with businesses as they navigate the entire sustainability world and how to do solar and how the financing can work. She's also going to be leading our efforts to begin placing more EV charging stations around the community, because we've started putting them in our municipal parking lots, but we're starting to get demands for them being in a lot of different areas. And before we convert any of our existing fleet to electric vehicles, it's one of the things that we need to do is have some infrastructure in place to actually charge those vehicles. I've talked about the work that All Aces is doing, as well as the work that Carmen Ortiz is doing. And then the very last thing I wanted to talk about a little bit was for about 3 months, the town has been undertaking, well, we've been doing weekly reviews of the whole pandemic and COVID-19, what our responses have been, what we need to do. But we're, right now, for the past 3 months, we've begun a planning effort to administer vaccines. While a lot of vaccinations will happen in hospitals and private minute clinics, Walgreens, CVS, places like that, the vaccine is being made available free by the federal government, but private entities can charge an administrative fee, and local governments will not be charging, or at least all the local governments I know will not be charging an administrative fee. So we anticipate having very large scale vaccination clinic process going on starting in sometime in mid-February and probably going until the end of June or beyond, given whatever the availability of the vaccines are going to be. And so we have teamed with Belmont and Arlington to put together a regional approach. The state has developed or purchased, I guess they didn't really develop it, a software system that will manage all of the tracking. And so we're getting employees trained on that. We have a medical reserve corps that we'll be using to assist us with doing the vaccinations. But one of the other things that we've done is we've gotten 51 of our 53 paramedics have been certified to do the vaccinations so that we will be able to use our own employees to do that. There's a number of non-medical functions that also need to be taking place as part of these vaccination clinics. And we are going to be rolling out an opportunity for our office staff to actually staff our vaccination clinics for the non-medical portions, checking people in, doing the record keeping, making sure that people stay for the 15 minutes afterwards and that they get their little card that proves that they've gotten the vaccination. So we're working out right now location and the size, the number of hours and the days of the week that we'll actually be doing that. We're meeting, that group is a totally different planning group that's meeting on a weekly basis and will continue to do that through the end of the pandemic. And so we're working very hard to be absolutely ready so that when phase 2 and phase 3 of the vaccination program opens up, that we're able to meet the demands of the public. All of our first responders have already been vaccinated. Our public works department is early in phase 2. And then we're also doing seniors as part of phase 2. So, and one of the things we've done is, a lot of municipalities have burned through all of their CARES Act money buying all kinds of equipment. We have reserved our CARES Act money so that we have sufficient funds to actually address the cost of administering the vaccination, because we weren't aware at any time that there was going to be additional funding. Congress has approved $900 billion already of additional funding. We don't know what the administration of that will be and what we'll get yet, but we're situated with about $1.5 million to approach the whole vaccination program so that we have the funds available and the resources to do what we need to do over the next couple of months. Because the one thing we really want to do, and this is probably most interesting to the businesses, we want to get back to normal and have people functioning the way that we have in the past. So we want to do our part and make sure that we're ready to go as soon as the vaccinations are, or the vaccines are made available to us. With that, I'll turn it over to Sandia and Casey.
Jim, can I ask one quick question before we leave
Absolutely.
that subject? In terms of the vaccinations, would that be open just to the residents of the communities, or is there talk about having it open to the employees that work in the communities?
We haven't really had that discussion yet. Right now, the discussion we've been having is part of the regionalization idea is that if Lexington does it on Tuesdays and Thursdays, say, and Arlington is doing it on Monday and Wednesdays, and Belmont's doing it on Fridays and Saturdays, there may be some times that it's not convenient for a resident of Belmont to do it on a Friday or Saturday, and so they need to go to one of the other towns. Between the 3 towns, there are about 110,000 residents, and as you probably are aware, for this vaccine to be effective, you have to have 2 shots. And so that's 220,000 vaccinations that have to be given over a very short period of time. And given our resources, even if we do 1,000 people a day, doing it 2 days a week, we're not going to meet. By the end of June, we're not going to be doing enough vaccinations. So I think it's going to be difficult for communities to absorb people that are not residents of their communities. That I think people are going to need to go to whatever community they live in and depend upon that community to get their vaccinations.
Thank you. Thank you. And thank you for the presentation as well. And Sandy, I don't mean to take the time away from you. So thank you for joining the conversation.
Thank you, Jim, and thanks, Steph and Stephanie. And good morning, everyone. I'm Sandhya Iyer. I am the Economic Development Director for Lexington. And believe it or not, I joined the team during the pandemic, and I met most of the folks via Zoom. So next slide, please. So Hartwell Avenue. So we've been talking about Hartwell. So what's Hartwell? Hartwell Avenue is our commercial corridor in Lexington. Most of the buildings in Hartwell are basically, they were built back in 1980s, 70s, and we are trying to give them trying to do a rezoning so that the property owners can redevelop them for life sciences uses. So our goal or the objective to start this whole process was to make it much more than just a redevelopment project, make it more than, this was from RJ Kelly, actually, who said that more than just pretty buildings. And that was the objective that we started this whole process with. Next slide, please. So while we started developing the whole process, our vision was to not just look at the buildings, but also look at amenities, at contemporary working environments, outdoor facilities for residents, pedestrian, biking. There's a lot happening in that area, and traffic and transportation is one big issue, and we are also looking at that because a lot of residents in and around Lexington love biking because of the Minuteman bike path. So that's a big part of this conversation. Jim alluded towards sustainability as being a big part of our initiative, and that was also considered during the whole rezoning effort. And I did tell about the transportation, but another big issue that we have is the taxes for the town. So that's something that we really wanted to increase by this rezoning effort. Next slide, please. I can see it on my phone, but not on my screen. I apologize. So this is the Hartwell Innovation Park map. As you can see, this whole area has a lot of development already, but it's surrounded by wetlands, and it also has an navigation easement because the Massport is right next to this whole area. So next slide, please. So yeah, it's basically 51 parcels, 260 acres of land that we are talking about. 77 acres has been already developed, which includes parking lots. It also includes sidewalks. It includes a lot of impervious areas. And so through this whole redevelopment process and this rezoning process, from what we've heard from the developers, they'll be adding at least 20 plus acres to this whole project. So that's a lot. And we are also trying to look at how much square feet of development would be done throughout this project. So that was a big part of this whole rezoning initiative, is try to get that building analysis and building footprint analysis done. And this is where we are. And an estimated real estate taxes annually increase of 25 million is what we are estimating based on 100% commercial development on this area, in this area. Next slide, please. So what was the whole what is this rezoning all about? So we actually had a citizen petition done. One of the planning board members had brought this citizens article in the fall town meeting and added new dimension controls. So that's already been passed. But what the staff has been working is on creating a new use table, modernizing the uses, life sciences being such a big focus not just for Lexington, but almost all the cities and town, because of the boom in life sciences um, related to COVID-19 and overall growth in the sector. Modernizing the uses that can include things such as life sciences R&D, life sciences biotech, biomanufacturing, and any life sciences uses beyond just labs, because that's something that we really wanted to attract, is beyond just labs, what other uses that we can use. So we, in fact, in the use table, if you see, we also added brewery, pubs, and maker spaces and incubators that were not originally in our use table. We also have a regulation and guidelines that are included, that are emphasized on sustainability, modern design, walkability, biking, as I had explained before. And nothing can be all this rezoning will not be effective till the time we don't have a clear and efficient, predictable permitting process, because that's one of the bottlenecks for any life sciences company, having that quick turnaround from a permitting standpoint, because as soon as they hit the ground, they really want to develop that product, and they also want to get that FDA approval. So they have a lot of milestones that they need to achieve, and this may be a major milestone for them, is just getting the permitting process done. So we really wanted to streamline the whole process, and that's one of the goals of this whole rezoning process. Next slide, please. So as I mentioned before, the citizens article, which was approved, has helped us minimize the lot area from 3 acres. Now it is 20,000 square feet. And again, if you have driven through Hartwell, a lot of frontage was there in most of these buildings, and we have reduced that to 50 feet. And the building maximum height was 65, and now that has been increased to 115. So this really would give most of the developers that height and that lot area that where they can expand their presence. Next slide, please. So this entire thing was a community driven process. Since we started back in September, we had to take a pause during COVID times, but we restarted this whole process in September, and we defined the scope, the objective. We developed a communications plan and a public outreach plan, and we also developed a new website, hiplexington.com. One of the major reasons being the whole public outreach had to be rethought as an online process rather than having everyone in a single room, which was we were all used to that, but now it was more like Zoom. So we had to think about how can we reach out to maximum number of people, and that's why we had to develop this whole communication and a public outreach plan and a website. So we so far since October, 4 months, we have had 14 public outreach meetings, and we had several subject matter experts, including Bob Buckley, who spoke at one of our sessions. We had several different topics that were discussed. And we also hosted 15 key stakeholder meetings, which included neighboring towns, also included property owners, any developers who have recently developed projects, and included sustainability, transportation, and a lot of other topics in these key stakeholder meetings. We also had several meetings with Hanscom, Massport. So these were the key stakeholder meetings. Interdepartmentally, this was more like a collaborative effort. So we have had several meetings with other departments, and it is not just coming out of one economic development office or the planning department. It's coming from the whole town. So this was a major initiative. So we actually have involved everyone from building department to sustainability to engineering so that we cover all the angles as we are drafting the zoning bylaw. In fact, we recently had a meeting with tree committee, because that's another thing that we really wanted to focus on, is maintaining that landscape that we have on Hartwell. Next slide, please. Actually, just give me 1 second. So what was the purpose of whole public outreach session is the input or the feedback, and that feedback has helped us develop a zoning bylaw and use table and design guidelines that includes all that feedback and the input from the residents as well as the stakeholders. And we actually released a draft on our hiplexington.com, so that they can constantly look at different iterations and give their feedback. And last night was our final public outreach meeting, and we actually released the final draft, and our public hearing process starts on February 4th. So now we have a draft that will be taken to the planning board. Next slide, please. So why Lexington? As many of you know, Lexington has attracted a lot of life sciences companies in the recent, 2020, Dicerna, Frequency Therapeutics, Integral Health, Voyager, and very recently, Ivexol, all announced that they are either having a CGMP manufacturing unit built in Lexington, or they are coming to Lexington or expanding in Lexington. So why are these companies coming to Lexington, life sciences companies coming to Lexington? One major thing that everyone quotes is location, of course, proximity to Cambridge and Boston, but also the location in itself, because it's right on 95 and the cusp of Route 2 and proximity to Route 3. That makes it a very attractive location. But the other part is about living in Lexington, the lifestyle in Lexington, the workforce in Lexington. We have one of the most educated workforce in Lexington. That makes it very attractive place for most of the life sciences companies. Lexington is very focused on the public school system. We are like ranked number 2 in Massachusetts. 11 public schools are in and around surrounding Lexington. And other than that, you know, I mentioned lifestyle because there are like 26 trails and parks and greeneries, and there's so many amenities that attract folks to Lexington. Jim just mentioned opening a new visitor center during the pandemic, but that's another thing that has been really attracting. We had 2 new restaurants open, and we just talked about restaurants right before this session. 2 new restaurants came to Lexington. All these amenities have been adding to the whole appeal of coming to Lexington. By the way, the below right photograph is the Battle Green tour that we just introduced this year, and that's my daughter. And we started giving walking tours instead of the regular tours because of the COVID-19, and we wanted to give it in smaller groups, and we just recently started this, and it has been hugely popular and in demand. So we did pretty well for as far as pandemic and tourism for this year, and we are hoping once we reopen the visitor center in April, we will do much better with the rebranding and a new location for visitor center. Thanks so much. And next slide. If you want to learn anything more about any of these projects or what's happening in Lexington, you can email me or contact me sir@lexingtonma.com. All our public outreach session meetings, including this, the presentation and the recordings, are available on hiplexington.com. Thanks.
Great. Thank you both, Sandia, Jim, for that overview. A lot going on. And if it's okay with you, hopefully we'd like to be able to share these presentations with everyone, because it certainly was a lot of information to get in a brief amount of time. And I'm going to ask if people have questions, if they can maybe type them into the chat, and perhaps they can connect with you after the presentation as well too, because I think there's probably going to be some follow-up questions. Does that work for you guys? Okay, well, again, thank you very much. And I'm gonna hand it over, where's Chuck? Chuck, I'm gonna hand it over to you. And I know we originally gave you 5 minutes to talk about what's happening in defense, the entire defense. So we'll narrow it down and maybe just a brief overview on what's going on at Hanscom. Certainly when you talk about Hartwell Ave, I think of Hanscom and how the two relate, but there's a lot going on. So maybe just a few updates from you.
Okay, thank you, Stephanie. Look, I did not come prepared with an infrastructure briefing. That may be a relief to some and disappointment to others. There obviously are some expansion or certainly construction projects taking place or scheduled to take place on Hanscom Air Force Base. The ones that would be greatest potential impact to Hartwell Avenue and the folks in Lexington, of course, are the recapitalization of the Lincoln Lab campus. But I'm not here to discuss that. I'm not prepared to discuss that. And that would be a longer conversation. But over the next really decade, I think we'll see a lot of activity going on there. So I'll just leave that at that. And hey, I don't want to spend a lot of time on this, but whenever I discuss Hanscom Air Force Base, no matter how many times it seems that I do it, I find it's generally still useful to talk about what we are and what we are not. Mainly, we're not Hanscom Field. Okay. They're adjacent to us. They're run by Massport, not the U.S. Air Force. Most importantly, they actually oversee flying operations, while we do not. So we do have occasional military flights stopping for refueling to drop off passengers, troop transports, and that sort of thing. But 99% of current air traffic at Hanscom Field, which again is operated by Massport, is non-military. It really has nothing to do with us. And if that's a surprise to folks out there, I would love it if people would, either do a show of hands or maybe type something into the chat box, because I'm always interested in that feedback. And if I don't need to keep going out and making that distinction, I'll stop doing it. But unfortunately, at least with all the Boston news stations, I know I have to keep making that distinction. Anyways, with that out of the way, what we are is an acquisition base. We provide key warfighting and support systems for the Air Force and in many cases, the entire Defense Department. There's no way to talk about all of that in a short period of time without some gross oversimplifications. But effectively, our portfolio is everything that allows U.S. forces to collect, process, and distribute information. Think radars of various size and scale on the hardware side and lots of software applications. Again, gross oversimplification, but hopefully that suffices for now. Without a lot of time, what I wanted to do today was just touch quickly on local area collaboration, if I could, because that's so critical to our success. And it's maybe the piece that people are less aware of. Frankly, it's the need to tap into local technological expertise that has kept Hanscom going where we are located, and it's kept us thriving for so long. And I think that's something that's truer today than ever before. It's not an accident that we operate where we operate and we do what we do where we do it. That's the point I want to make. I mean, it really is the technological expertise in the region that makes the difference. So that regional ecosystem, as I said, really is critical to us. Now, in many ways, that ecosystem still starts with the two major federally funded research and development centers located here. MITRE, which of course is headquartered in Bedford, and MIT Lincoln Laboratory, which I indicated is conveniently located right on base. Now, between them, you've got some of the greatest minds working on just about every imaginable area of technology, and we certainly tap into much of that expertise all the time. Yet, there's so much more to the ecosystem. While we haven't always taken full advantage of the other assets in the past, I think we really are now. Starting with area colleges and universities. In the Middlesex 3 region alone, both UMass Lowell and Northeastern, through its Costas Research Institute in Burlington particularly, are key players. And we have several ongoing partnerships with KRI, particularly regarding what we call unmanned aerial systems. We don't use the term drones. And this is a big deal right now, counter unmanned aerial system technology, something I really, for obvious reasons, can't talk too much about. And as for UMass Lowell, we've held a number of partnerships with them throughout the years. And as many of you probably know, UMass Lowell just opened its new North Star campus right outside our West Gate in Lincoln. And that should certainly be a further boon to our ability to work together with them. Recently, Hanscom has also been on the vanguard of DoD's effort to really expand its industrial base, to go way beyond the major vendors like Raytheon and Northrop Grumman. Although, of course, we still rely heavily on them. And if any folks from those corporations are on this call, please understand that we still need you. But that expansion effort hinges not only on bringing more small businesses on board, but in fact on targeting startups that are often the ones who are introducing or spearheading new technologies and applications. And I mean the really leading edge stuff around topics like AI and machine learning, for instance. It's largely because of the great relationships that we have with both the Massachusetts Military Task Force and, as you know, Stephanie, with the Mass Innovation Bridge, which is a partnership between the Commonwealth and MITRE, that we've been able to make a lot of these really great additional connections. And perhaps the most significant of those have been with Boston-based accelerators, Techstars and Mass Challenge, and perhaps the latter especially. Our work with them really is making a difference. We're reaching fledgling companies with great ideas that we wouldn't have known about otherwise. And we're really starting to see some great results. And I think that's what's making the key difference for Hanscom these days. It's that additional collaboration. It's really being able to connect with the tech sector in and around Greater Boston in more meaningful and really more tangible ways than we ever have before. So there's a lot more I could say on just that subject and certainly on others, but I know I don't have a lot of time now. I do believe Jessica put all of our contact information and our various web and social media platform information into the chat. So feel free to reach out to us directly if you have any thoughts or questions. I'm always, as Stephanie knows, I'm always happy to chat about Hanscom or pretty much anything.
No, I appreciate it. Thanks, Chuck. And I know it wasn't much time, but thanks for the overview and the message. If you have a problem with the airplanes, don't call Chuck or Jessica about it. But if you do have any questions, again, we could put it into the chat box, or you have their contact information as well too. So we can, if they're great, they're easy to talk with. So please reach out to them. But I'm going to keep moving on since I know we've got a lot of information as well too. So thanks again for coming. And I want to bring Heather Hamilton from the BSC Group into the conversation as well too. And again, I feel like it's the bingo game here. Heather, I know you were there, but I can't seem to locate you at this point. And
I'm here. Can you see?
now I can see you. I can see you once you start talking. So thanks. I got to put the I've got to put my speaker view on so I can focus on you. So thanks for joining the conversation. And again, when I think of Hartwell Ave, micromobility is just seems like there's such a good tie-in, and I know we have a number of communities on the line too, so it's such an interesting topic. I think we're going to be hearing a lot more about it, so thanks for kicking off the conversation about micromobility. And I know you have you're the co-host as well too, so you can share your screen too, because I know you have a presentation as well too.
Yes, so let me try to share my screen. Okay, and let me try to go into okay, there we go. I think we're all set. So thank you, Stephanie, for having me. Good morning to everyone. My name is Heather Hamilton. I'm a project manager at BSC Group, a civil engineering and environmental consulting firm based in the Seaport, as well as one of today's sponsors. Today, I'm going to be talking about transportation opportunities related to an emerging technology called micromobility. So what is micromobility? Micromobility is simply a means of travel that is not in a car, but on a device that goes at similar speeds as a bicycle. In fact, bicycles are considered to be part of the class of micromobility. This new phenomenon has been in the works for a while. I will give most of the credit to millennials and Generation Z, who have chosen to eschew automobiles and instead opt for personal mobility devices or someone else's car, like Uber and Lyft. I would assert, based on the evidence I have seen, that if we had truly complete and protected routes, we would see double the amount of ridership than we saw in 2018 with respect to ridership and bike lanes. Part of this has been shared mobility, which is slightly different than micromobility. Shared mobility is simply an asset that no one owns personally. They can use it by downloading an app and registering and can take these devices one way. Blue Bikes continues to gain ridership despite the introduction of shared scooters and despite the pandemic. Lexington's Hartwell Ave project that you heard about a few moments ago is well positioned to tap into this phenomenon. The Minuteman Trail transects Hartwell Ave at the halfway point. With ridership estimated to be between 300,000 and 500,000 riders annually, a large percentage of employees could commute by bike or other device. The types of employers who are currently located in this industrial park will be drawing from a largely millennial workforce who want the option to avoid driving a car. Before COVID-19, many millennials valued convenience over personal space. So they were not buying single-family homes at the same rates as their parents' generation. COVID-19 has changed this preference, and it is unclear by how much and if it will be a lasting change in preference. Generation Z is even more extreme. The rate of these kids getting their driver's license is down a whopping 27% from previous generations. Prior to COVID-19, INRIX, a mobility analytics firm, produced a report that concluded nearly half of all automobile trips in the Boston area are less than 3 miles in length, and a bulk of those trips are in fact under 1 mile in length. This information has helped policy leaders to justify completing micro-mobility networks. Now that many people are working from home, I would wager that those figures are even more extreme. If you take out the commute to work for nearly half of all residents, what is left? Short trips to your neighborhood grocery store, occasional trips to school, perhaps to pick up dinner at your favorite local restaurant. I want you to think about your new average trip length. This is going to be a game changer. One of the implications is that we can take back physical space and use it more efficiently. One parking space for a vehicle can fit up to 10 bicycles. Another benefit of taking back space, traditionally dominated by a car-centric culture, is creating space for people to enjoy. The town of Norwood recently received a grant to turn this street into a space for people to sit, relax, dine, and stroll around. The city of Boston has made major infrastructure upgrades recently that will allow commuters on 2 wheels to be completely protected and will hopefully mean less congestion on their narrow roads. We have seen the future, and it is flexible. In order to take advantage of these new opportunities, we need to think differently, act differently, and build differently. That is the conclusion of my presentation. I'm happy to take any questions.
And thank you, Heather. I think there's a lot more that we need to get into the conversation with this, and hopefully people can, again, we'll send that information, but I think it's important to maybe have a conversation in more detail, either after or, yeah, I guess after the event as well too, since we've been jamming a lot into our agenda. So
yeah, I put my contact information in the chat. I also serve on the select board for my town in Brookline, and we had a scooter pilot program. I'm happy to get into the nitty gritty of operations, for anyone who wants to talk about best practices when it comes to parking management and, license structure and whatnot. But I figured for this audience, kind of keep it high level.
Yeah. and the devil's in the detail. But I think that there's a lot of people on this call in Middlesex 3 that think along these lines as well too. So I think we're going to be continuing this conversation. So thank you for the presentation. I wanted to thank Lori for bringing this to our attention as well too, and look forward to continuing the conversation as well too. But I want to try to get back on track with our agenda as well too, because I know Nancy and Katie and Tina from Minuteman Technical Institute, the vocational school. Nancy, can you give us a shout out? Because again, this locating everybody is a little trickier. So I see you over there. You're all together. That makes it easier.
Yes, so I'm Nancy Houle. I'm the executive director of Minuteman Technical Institute, which is the post-secondary component of the Minuteman Regional Vocational Technical School District. And with me is Katie Bouchard, who is our director of career and technical education. And also with us is Tina Collins, who is our instructor in the robotics and automation program. We do have a slideshow, if they call it a slideshow anymore, PowerPoint presentation. If Steph could pull that up, but I'll jump right in. So Minuteman
Opening up now, just give me 1 second, but go ahead.
So Minuteman Technical Institute is, as I said previously, the post-secondary branch of Minuteman Regional Vocational Technical School System. We are in Lexington, Massachusetts, in a beautiful new building, which was opened last September. We occupied through March, and then we unoccupied thereafter. And I think Katie can talk more about how the high school is operating under these conditions. But as far as MTI goes, we have Department of Elementary and Secondary Ed Chapter 74 evening programs, which are approved through the auspices of the department. On the list, you can see our 6 programs and the number of hours and the length of time a student would be with us. Cosmetology and electricity, you'll notice the asterisk that indicates that those 2 programs have hours toward which students work for licensure. So cosmetology students are eligible to sit for the state board license after earning 1,000 hours, and electrical students earn 300 hours of related theory and 400 hands-on hours, which they then carry forward as they work toward a journeyman and then a master electrician license. All of our programs provide students the opportunity to earn industry recognized credentials. First and foremost, we start them off with the OSHA 10-hour safety program, and it's customized to their program of study. So some students take OSHA General. Our cosmetology students take the OSHA Cosmetology, and then our metal fab electricity and electricity students take the construction 10-hour safety course. Welding students and automotive students do our hot work program, which is a state endorsed program to ensure additional safety in the workplace. Many of our programs are moving into NOCTI certification, which provides a national credential that's recognized outside the parameters of the Commonwealth, and then other career-specific credentials. And just recently, the cosmetology students were presented the opportunity to participate in a training to recognize human trafficking conditions of clients. And that's offered by Malloy, which is a brand name in the cosmetology industry. It's an online training program to help them maybe identify victims of human trafficking. So the MTI cosmetology students will participate in that. And other such credentials as come to our attention that are appropriate for student learning to help them present credentials when they're looking for employment. Currently, MTI is undergoing accreditation with the Council on Occupational Education. What this will do 2 things for the Institute. It will help us gain Title IV approval that affords students access to student loans and Pell Grants. And it also provides a structure to assure quality in our programs. Minuteman Technical Institute was just awarded $110,000 in training funds through the Governor's Career Technical Institute Expansion Program. It is anticipated that we will train 10 folks as CNC operators and 10 folks as carpenters. And those programs were selected because there is a skills gap in both areas in this region. And to make this possible, we're partnering with our Mass Hire Workforce Boards, Career Centers, the Commonwealth Corporation, and then the North Atlantic States Regional Council of Carpenters, as well as 7 regional business and industry partners who will work with us on the receiving end to hopefully employ our learners when they complete their 300-hour training programs. As well, MTI, under the MTI umbrella, folks who are currently working toward plumbing journeyman licenses are able to take 5 tiers of instruction that carry them to the conclusion of their, if you will, classroom learning, while they're also working toward work hours to the point where they have enough work hours, which I believe the amount is 8,000 work hours, plus their 5 tiers of practical instruction, and then they will apply for their journeyman's license. So Minuteman Technical Institute, after the March shutdown of last year, we had to turn and pivot and go remote, which we did for a couple months, then took a summer break and invited those students back to us in September. We had an 85% return rate of students that had been absent since March, so we're very proud of that. And then we had a 46% enrollment rate, which we feel is part of the COVID fallout. So because many folks were unsure what would protocols be, what was their financial availability to take a training program, what was their time commitment, would they be able to take a training program? So we felt that our attendance was impacted slightly by the COVID pandemic. On a positive note, when we released the application for the 2021-2022 program year, which starts in August, we had 6 applications in the first 4 days. So I think folks are very comfortable with the fact that the district is running safe programs with a focus on, again, health and safety. And we're here to work with partners in business and industry to either do retraining for your folks or for you to offer employment to the folks that we've trained for the region. Thank you. Katie?
Yeah, if you can advance the next slide, thank you. So again, my name is Katie Bouchard. I'm the Career and Technical Director here at Minuteman High School. Thank you for having us. Right now, Minuteman is operating under a hybrid model. So we have 25% capacity right now. We have 1 grade in every week just for their hands-on CTE learning. All academics are currently being held remotely, but we are looking to bring back more students to the building soon. Over 10 years ago, Minuteman started to plan our new building and renovated and reevaluated our education model. We designed our new building around an academy model that from a bird's eye view has 2 academies and what we call a shared house. In an academy model, we integrate CTE majors with relevant and rigorous academics to enhance student learning, including common planning time for our teachers to work together. As part of our process to form our academies, all of our academic staff align themselves with an academy based on their skills and interests. Every academy has staff from each discipline to help promote integration lessons and projects. So as you can see on this slide, the shared house is a combination of where academic disciplines and shared services are held. In addition to student services, academic courses, and career development opportunities, we also have some of our school-wide initiatives located in the lower right corner. If you can advance to the next slide, please. So this slide, as mentioned, Minuteman is set up in 2 career academies. We have our Engineering, Construction, and Trades Academy, and we have our Life Science and Services Academy. Each academy has pathways within them, and within those pathways are our 18 CTE programs. So if you look under our Life Sciences and Service Academy, we have our Health, Hospitality, and Human Service pathway with 4 programs, our Agriculture, Environmental, and Life Sciences pathway with 3 programs currently, but we're very excited to announce that we have an anticipated Animal Science program. We're hoping to open that in the fall. Under our Engineering, Construction, and Trades Academy, we have a Trades and Transportation pathway with 4 programs, a Design and Arts pathway, which has 3 programs, and an Engineering and Production pathway that has 4 programs. And we're going to be adding a Logistics Engineering as well there. So in our Logistics Engineering, we actually received a Capital Skills Grant last year for $300,000, which will allow us to outfit our warehouse with state-of-the-art supply chain management and logistics automated equipment, including racking systems, picker trucks, reach trucks, and a Cardex shuttle system, which is an automated vertical storage system. Our goal is to open the warehouse next year for our students in engineering and production pathway for students to receive industry recognized credentials for their future careers. I'd like to now turn things over to Tina Collins, who is our robotics instructor, to give a brief overview of the program.
Hi, thank you. Thanks, Katie. My name is Tina Collins. Like she said, I am the robotics and automation instructor. The breadth and scope of integrating these IRC's industry recognized certifications is really far ranging. So I'm really going to just stick to the phase 1 implementation and how we've integrated it into the curriculum. First, it's important to note that we need to teach our students the modern skills to be successful citizens in the 4th Industrial Revolution, or what is commonly being referred to as Industry 4.0. Manufacturing is moving in this direction for several reasons. Some reasons are to achieve higher margins, a faster time to market, and quality control. So integrating these IRCs into the, which fall under Industry 4.0 skills, into the robotics and automation program strengthens the curriculum by reinforcing fundamental principles through diverse project-based mediums. All students will have an opportunity to test for the certifications listed above on the screen. For those that want to go directly into industry after completing their career here at Minuteman, they'll have the initial credentials to pursue a technician pathway. For those matriculating to a post-secondary institution, they will have an intuitive understanding of the fundamentals. If they matriculate to a post-secondary school that has level 2 Industry 4.0 curriculum and equipment, they can continue growing their skills. So for the IRCs listed, we anticipate to be able to provide 11 level 1 certifications, although there's only, I believe, 2, 4, 6, 8 listed on the screen. There are 11 IRCs embedded within them. So quickly, I'll just go over a couple, go through them. The Industry 4.0 IRC, that's one of them. It introduces students to the 4th Industrial Revolution and makes them familiar with things such as the Internet of Things or IoT that we're all becoming familiar with. The Intro to Mechatronics IRC is a solid introduction into the blend of automation, robotics, mechanics, and electrical fundamentals. For fluid power, embedded within that are 2 IRCs, specifically for pneumatics and hydraulics. And the module architecture of the setup is phenomenal and complements our Project Lead the Way principles of engineering curriculum. Electricity has 2 IRCs, similar to fluid power. The curriculum for this IRC complements our Project Lead the Way digital electronic studies. The PLC and sensors are 2 IRCs. The PLCs are integral, especially in today's modern world, for automation, and also integral to that are basic sensors. And the last 3 remaining IRCs is electropneumatic, smart sensors, and KUKA, the robotic arm. Just one thing to touch on with smart sensors, it's really an exciting area of the curriculum to integrate into our program because those sensors directly integrate into networks, into IoT. So we anticipate certifying students in electricity and sensors by June of this year. And another anticipated addition to the curriculum is the Cognex vision sensor for robotic arms, as vision sensing is critical, very, very critical to manufacturability. So please, if you have any questions, feel free to reach out. Thank you.
So thank you. I know that was a lot of information in a short amount of time, but I know it's not nearly as much information as you have as well too. So really, I think the point is to make certain that you connect and the companies are able to connect with you if they have if they need students or they have positions that for your graduates, I think you just, the point is you offer so much that our businesses should be aware of what you offer and who to contact as well too. One quick question, I know we're over our time as well too, but some of your students, whether it's at the institute primarily, I guess, they are over 18, right? Because I think that is a, some companies do need to be working with students that are over 18.
Yep, in the technical institute, yes.
And the technical. So I think I think for some companies, that's an important point as well too. So thank you for joining the conversation and giving us that information, and we'll share your contact information so that companies can follow up with you. So I appreciate that. Thank you. And I now I know we're over our time, and Erin, I apologize for that, but I do want to turn it over to the Lexington Chamber of Commerce. And I know Erin talked a lot at the very beginning during our virtual networking about some of the work that they're doing for some of the smaller, for the restaurants as well too. But Erin, can you close us out as well too, and just let us know a little of how they're doing?
Absolutely, and I can keep this brief. I did have a graphic to show if Steph has that handy.
Thanks, Steph.
Yeah, perfect. Thank you. So just briefly, these are the kind of the 4 buckets that I've been working on since I started. Like Sandhya, I came into this role in April of last year, right as the pandemic was starting. So as a matter of fact, I've still not met most of my board members face to face. So Sherry and Veronica and Cleve, who are all on here, have only ever seen me this way. Such is life these days. But what I will say, just kind of as an overview, and I know that you'll share this graphic so people can look at it in more detail, but what I've found in talking to our businesses, they need a lot of help with advocacy and accessing resources. So, and I've found this too, I connect with a lot of area chamber directors in, Wakefield, Stoneham, Reading, Waltham, all around the area. We have really been collaborating to share best practices, resources, offering our events to everyone in the region. And we're hearing the same things. People want to know how to access their PPP. Now at this time of year, they have tax questions about the implications of having gotten PPP money. They're starting to think about forgiveness. We're working with the town. We did last spring and we will again this spring on using outdoor space, being creative in thinking about how businesses can expand beyond their storefronts in order to connect with customers. We participated in the micro enterprise grant funding. We've participated in a couple of shop local campaigns, including Taste of Lexington, which we shifted all online this year. And so really we're trying to be a hub of information for all of the businesses around the region. Looking into the future, we're going to be focusing this year on getting e-commerce sites. We want to make it simple and offer a resource for our businesses to be able to do e-commerce, because the ones who were able to pivot to curbside and shipping and so forth have survived a lot better than the ones who have not been able to do that yet. So we want to make sure that as many as can will get onto e-commerce. We've got a health and wellness fair coming up in March. That's a regional effort. So we have 6 different chambers participating, and we'll have fitness studios and cooking and mental health workshops and things like that. That's coming up in March. The board of the Chamber of Commerce made it part of our mission statement to advance a racially equitable and sustainable business climate in Lexington. So we are going to be introducing some racial equity training, offering that to business owners, much like the town is doing that for employees like Jim mentioned. And I'm trying to connect with landlords and developers around the area. I'm going to be holding a coffee hour soon so that we can talk about what they're looking for. They are often not as connected with the very small businesses, and they're not usually members of the chamber. but we want to, be able to we want to have those good relationships with landlords and developers so that when a small business is looking for space, or if a developer has an empty space, we can be a conduit for connecting those two parties. And my information's in the chat as well.
Great, thank you. And there's some great programs here that I'd love to take part in and offer them as well too. But one thing I will ask people who are still on the call is, if you know landlords, because I know I'm looking at a couple of people that I do know, or I can connect with you as well too. But certainly maybe we might have some that you don't, but I'm sure Sandia does as well too. Anyway, we can continue the conversation. So thank you for that. Thank you for all the restaurant suggestions as well too. And as we said earlier, we're going to take all this information, put it into a Word document and send it out to everybody. So you have all the information, all the presentations, and I don't know, 20, 40 different restaurants that we talked about earlier. So you'll know where to go for the next few weeks as well too. So with that, I apologize that we're over time, but there's just a lot going on in Lexington. Oh, but thank you to all of our speakers. I know some of them jumped off, but Sandia, Chuck, wait, did Heather? I don't know if Heather's still here. Nancy, Katie, Tina, Erin, thank you for joining us, and thank you to our sponsors for sponsoring this event. And Steph, if we have that presentation as well too, but thank you to thank you to our sponsors, the BSC Group and Enterprise Bank. We appreciate your support, and thank you for all you do for us. Am I missing anything? I always hate ending these, but thank you all and have a great day. And we'll see you. Hopefully we'll see you in person soon. Stay healthy, stay safe, and support our local restaurants.